I will pass a three strikes law, which says that anyone convicted of three repeat offenses, three violent or serious offenses, will be ineligible for bail, parole, probation, or house arrest. And we'll take that very small number of criminals who do almost all the crime, and we will keep them in jail. Some of them will stay there forever. They will have life sentences. They will never come out alive. Licensed, law-abiding, trained, and tested hunters and sport shooters on Vancouver Island are not to blame for the violent gun crime. It's gangsters and gun smugglers. So
Do you have one nice thing you could say about Justin Trudeau? You can pass.
I think he focuses a lot on his fitness, which is a good thing.
There you go.
We should all do
Health.
that.
Health. What would be the biggest issue facing people on Vancouver Island, in your eyes?
I think if I could pick two,
Sure.
I would say the skyrocketing cost of living and crime caused by the NDP Liberal governments. BC has taken it the worst. Housing costs in British Columbia are now among the highest in the entire world. To crime, I mean, the catch and release criminal justice system, the liberalization of drugs has hit BC particularly hard. We see rampant violent crime. The catch and release laws, C-75, C-83, and C-5, all supported by the federal NDP, have turned the worst rampant repeat offenders loose on our streets. The radical NDP Liberal experiment with drugs is now becoming world famous for how horrible it has been. 47,000 Canadians have died, and of course BC has the worst in all of Canada. So we intend to end drug liberalization, ban the drugs, stop giving out tax-funded drugs, and we're going to invest in treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free.
Okay, so I asked you for one. I think you gave me three, but that's okay.
Sorry.
You know, no, that's all right.
Lots going on
That's
right
a political answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no shortage of topics to hit. Okay, you talked about your Axe the Tax rally. That's been something that you've said a lot of, and it's certainly resonated with a lot of people.
Yes.
I am interested because the environment is a very big focus for a lot of people, especially here on Vancouver Island. So the former Secretary General of the UN says climate change is the single greatest threat to a sustainable future. We're seeing, of course, historic wildfires in California right now. Every summer, there's a wildfire season in BC. So how do you make sure Canada still hits the carbon emissions targets while axing that tax?
Well, first of all, I think we have to realize this is a global problem. So, but by raising taxes on our businesses, all we do is drive production to more polluting foreign jurisdictions. And so, for example, we have a tomato farm in my riding. They pay a carbon tax on the CO2 they release into their greenhouse, even though it's absorbed by the plant life. Well, what does that mean? A Mexican tomato is now more affordable in my community than a local Manotick tomato. So people are then incentivized to buy the tomato that had to be trucked and trained right across North America from Mexico because they don't have the Canadian carbon tax. I want to bring that production home and want to displace dirty foreign energy with clean Canadian energy. For example, LNG. When we send LNG from, as we will soon be doing, from Kitimat to Asia, we displace dirtier forms of energy. According to the chief economist of National Bank, if we were able to supply India with half of its electrical demand from our natural gas, rather than having them go with coal, it would displace 2.5 billion tons of greenhouse gases, which is 3 times the total emissions of the entire Canadian economy. So I want to rapidly greenlight these LNG projects as one of the ways that we can displace dirtier forms of energy.
You've alluded to it earlier, saying it's one of the biggest issues facing people on Vancouver Island right now. How do you address this while also respecting it's a housing, mental health, and toxic drug crisis issue as well?
Sorry, how do I address which part of that?
Public safety in general.
Well, you got to lock up the criminals. The bottom line is we don't have a lot of criminals. We have a small number who are extremely productive, or I should say destructive. And we know these people are going to reoffend because they have a track record of chronic career crime. So I will pass a three strikes law, which says that anyone convicted of three repeat offenses, three violent or serious offenses, will be ineligible for bail, parole, probation, or house arrest. And we'll take that very small number of criminals who do almost all the crime, and we will keep them in jail. Some of them will stay there forever. They will have life sentences. They will never come out alive. We will also secure our ports with high-powered scanners. We only inspect 1% of our shipping containers. That's where the drugs and guns are coming in. So we're going to have high-powered scanners that look into those containers and intercept the importation of illegal substances. And we'll pay for it by canceling this ridiculous gun grab. Licensed, law-abiding, trained, and tested hunters and sport shooters on Vancouver Island are not to blame for the violent gun crime. It's gangsters and gun smugglers. So I'm going to let the hunters and sport shooters keep their property and put the resources into going after the criminals. It's supposed to be the common people. It's why it's green. It's supposed to be the people who work in the field.
House of Common Sense is right there. I don't know why you haven't taken that yet. Or maybe you have.
I haven't had enough coffee after the jet lag from Ottawa.
Just fast-paced question answer. First thing that comes to mind. First car.
Mine?
Yeah.
Subaru.
First job.
It's Paperboy.
Your go-to order at Tim Hortons.
I would just say a black coffee.
Very good. Favorite Canadian band?
I would say Tragically Hip.
Good answer. Next Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup?
I'm just going to say the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, you grew up in that area.
I grew up in Calgary, so I have to be loyal.
You famously enjoyed an apple during an interview. Thank you for not
eating. A British Columbian apple.
That's right. Okay, what is your favorite type of apple?
An Ambrosio.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was eating on that famous day.
Do you have one nice thing you could say about Justin Trudeau? You can pass.
I think he focuses a lot on his fitness, which is a good thing.
There you go.
We should all do that.
Health.